Now this is the 2018 Santa Cruz Hightower LT. Now if you're like me and really loved the original Hightower 29er, you probably understand why the new Santa Cruz Hightower LT gave me really high hopes. They've taken the standard Hightower with 135 and 140 millimeters of travel and pushed both front and back to 150 millimeters for full-on party mode. Now if I worked for Santa Cruz, I would have named this monster
the Hightower.
Now what's changed between the Hightower and the Hightower? Now they didn't do a full redesign, they just slapped on a longer fork and a new rear triangle with a longer stroked shock. So, the head tube and seat tube angles are slackened out by 0.6 degrees. Now each size in turn lost 7 millimeters in reach. Bottom bracket height is raised by only 1 millimeter, and the chainstay length gained 3 millimeters. Now going by the numbers, these changes are small, but we'll get to how I think those small tweaks changed the ride characteristics. Now let's talk about the build. Santa Cruz only makes carbon Hightowers and Hightower LTs, which means that this S-build will hit the wallet pretty hard at $4,900. They do have one build lower than this at $3,949 with the same beautiful carbon frame, but with lower end specs. But come on, nowadays, even the low and mid entry level stuff is amazing, just could be a tad heavier and maybe a little bit less adjustable. But this S-build had the new SRAM GX Eagle, which I absolutely loved. The SRAM guide R brakes, which I could pass on, a short stem and wide bar combo that couldn't disappoint, Novatech hubs with E13 30mm wide rims wrapped in the Maxxis Minion DHR 2.4 tires front and rear, which I was surprised at how well the DHR felt in the front. All of this was plushed up with a Fox 36 fork and a Fox Float DPS shock, both in the Performance series, which I found the fork to be really solid and could handle the chunk. Now this had the new shifter style remote to run the 150mm RockShox reverb dropper post, and it felt perfect. And the frame allows full insertion of the dropper post. Now that's one thing that I love about Santa Cruz. When it comes to short people and short legs, their medium size allows me with my short 27-inch inseam to run a 150mm dropper post and have the perfect saddle height when it's inserted all the way in. Now I tend to love Santa Cruz bikes. Not only are they gorgeous, but there's a reason that there are so many on the trails. Lifetime frame warranty, threaded bottom brackets, amazing ride characteristics, great geometry. They just make amazing bikes, plain and simple. And I love the way that the VPP suspension feels when it's sagged in around 30%. Super active, yet really efficient for climbing, and the Hightower climbs better than I expected, especially for a 150mm 29er. Also for big wheels and long legs, I felt like I was riding inside the bike instead of on top of it, which made me really feel in control, which helped to negate a lot of the reasons why I lean more towards 27.5 wheels. Now alright, I've only seen rave reviews on the Hightower LT, and I can see why, but I felt like I have to bring up the not so good, in my own opinion. I'm sorry to be a negative Nancy. But since a lot of the enduro racers were already putting longer stroke shocks on the Hightower, it seemed like Santa Cruz wanted to rush this one to the market, and instead of doing a complete redesign, they just slapped on a new rear end and a longer fork into the existing front end, negatively affecting the reach and seat tube angle. Now 423mm of reach is really short for a size medium, am I wrong? Now I also had a really hard time finding that sweet spot on the rear shock. Normally, I can just sag in around 30 to 35% on a Santa Cruz rear end, and it feels perfect. But when I did that, it would blow through its travel so harsh that the tire would scrape the saddle. Which surprised me that they would allow a bottom out to do that. But that comes back to Santa Cruz not redesigning the front end and the seat angle. If they would have steepened that seat angle, I think they wouldn't have had the problem with the bottom out hitting the seat. So, I would raise the air pressure and sag in more around 25 to 30%. But doing that negatively affected the climbing characteristics of the VPP. Since if you don't sag in enough on a VPP rear end, it ends up feeling like it has an inchworming effect while you're climbing, and it isn't nearly as efficient. And when you point it down, it would ride high in its travel, and I couldn't get the full 150 millimeters of squish. I adjusted it so much, it seemed like with 1 psi in either direction, it would either blow through or ride high in the travel. Now maybe some tweaking with volume spacers could fix that, or the higher end build with the Fox DPX2 really helps to negate that problem. So I'm gonna chalk this one up to user error, and I hope that you guys have better luck. But I still don't think that with a bottom out, that the tire should be hitting anything on the bike. Now with that said, when it comes to choosing between the regular Hightower and the Hightower LT, I think that they rushed the LT to the market, and it needs some tweaks. I still prefer the regular Hightower. However, I feel like the Hightower LT, or Higher Tower, deserves a full redesign to give a steeper seat tube angle and longer reach all around, and maybe a 160 millimeter fork. I think that could possibly be the one bike to do it all, and I would love to buy one. If you're listening, Santa Cruz, for us regular folk, my wallet would really love an aluminum option too. Now, if you're interested in the Santa Cruz Hightower LT, I would totally recommend trying one out for yourself to get your own opinions. And if you're out here in the Fruita, Colorado area, hit up Over the Edge Sports to demo the Hightower LT and tell them that the Crashing Dad sent you in for the Higher Tower. They might laugh at you a little bit. And if you love all the bikes that I've been talking crap on and being a negative Nancy on and think my reviews are horrible, smash that dislike button and don't follow me on Instagram at the Crashing Dad for more up-to-date shenanigans.
Oh, no.
Now let's get back out there on the trails, you guys, to ride more and crash less.